Landslide news on News Insight. All that is happening in Benin, the Togri, the issues between the Oba and the Obasekis have not gone down well at all. Barbaric act by a armed group that went to abduct Pedro Obaseki, the film producer and cousin to the former governor of the state, has not gone down well with everybody. The humiliation, the insult, the extrajudicial action taken by the people is worth of criticism. Philip.
Yeah, I'm surprised you mind the word group of Togri. You see, we shouldn't just use mind what we should say the way it is. The Oba of Benin, under his command, as the head of the Tog, under his Tog, to behave in 21st century as if we're in 13th century, that a man spoke something, derogatory or whatever against the throne, that the man should be humiliated and dehumanized in a public is unbecoming. It's unacceptable in a civilized society. I saw the story of one activist, a lawyer, I think Effiong. He was saying, look, I am not concerned about what Dr. Pedro Obaseki has said. He may have said, but the act you took, that the police, he called out the police and the Nigerian government to take action. The action should be investigated, and those who are involved should be found culpable. They should be tried. The Oba is not above the law. The Oba of Benin is under the 1999 Constitution of Nigeria as amended. His operation is within the law. He has no power whatsoever to treat a human being as if it's an animal. Irrespective of what he said, because we're in a civilized society. If you think the man has done something wrong, either you go to the police or you go to court of law to seek redress.
All right, Peter, we don't have any clear knowledge or evidence that they were sent from the palace. Actually, from what Pedro said that when they got him to the palace, from the face of the chiefs that were there, it doesn't look like they were sent from the palace. So he kind of exonerated the palace from this incident. But the people that took these laws into their hands, they carried arms. Pedro said he knows their faces. In fact, there are rumor that one of the thugs in Benin called Tony Kabaka led the group. We can't ascertain that yet. This barbaric action, he said the police, he said he also tried to say the police did a good job. He said the commissioner of police came there, and he came there 3 times before the 3rd time he was released. Do you think enough action needs to be taken to curb this useless nonsense stuff?
Yeah, I was born in Benin, so I know how happy it was. I have utmost respect for Oba of Benin. It's a traditional story that we've grown to know and respect. But what happened is blatantly under institution. You said those people, the Nepalas, their face. Pedro, being a dumb man, a Benin man, was trying to protect the Oba Palace. If the Oba was not known, if he didn't support it, why didn't he cooperate to come and apprehend those that did that in his palace? Why didn't they lock the palace gates and make sure those that embarrassed Pedro were handed over to the police? See, some chiefs might not be in support of what Oba did. So the only way they can show it by the expression in their face. How many of them have spoken up? How many of them have condemned what happened? So he cannot remove Oba Palace from what happened. No matter what this man has done. See, when our traditional institutions are being attacked, sometimes we don't know. Sometimes they arrogate themselves powers they don't have. Okay, imagine that the sitting governor of the state is not sympathetic to the palace. What do you think will happen? You have a full-blown war. But because the sitting governor is sympathetic to the palace, that's why he couldn't do anything. Imagine it was Obaseki that was still a governor. You think it will go down this way? And tomorrow people will blame politicians for watering down our traditional institutions. Some of these new people that are at the helm of their affair, they are the problem of our traditional institutions. They do things they ought not to do. They go into bed with politicians. They go into politics. What has Pedro said that have not been said before in life? If it's that bad, you feel humiliated, take the matters to the appropriate authorities. Pedro is not above the law.
In addition to answer that question, you said Pedro. Now you're speaking about what Pedro Obaseki said. Now let me tell you what the immediate past governor of Edo State said. He directly accused the Oba of a barbaric act. Now, if you are saying that, in addition to what you said, that if from what Pedro said, the palace is exonerated. Why? Because what happened was in our primary school, like all of us here were born in Benin. The incident happened in our primary school. Pedro was taken to the palace to lay down and apologize to the palace, to the strip naked. So what is it? What the relation between our primary school and the palace? Why will he have to go to the palace to kneel down and apologize? Who is he apologizing to in the palace?
Because of what he said against the Oba.
So who are these people working for? They are servants of who? So if you're under my employment and you commit an act, am I not by state of committee that?
Okay, let me ask you another question. We've also not seen the governor of the state lend his voice to this act of barbarism, and also even the Oba has not issued a statement, from my knowledge, that these actions are bad. The institution of security, which the governor stands as the chief security of the state, is to protect every individual of the state. The rights of Pedro were seriously violated, and we have not heard of any arrest being made by the commissioner of police.
Yes, you see. In other words, you also agree with me.
Oh yes,
that look, this act, it is showing clearly that people in high offices, both in traditional institutions and in governance, they somehow, one way or the other, they are involved, because this is act that call for immediate action on the side of government, and nothing is being said. On the side of the Oba, if, for instance, he was not involved, the immediate thing we expect for you to issue a statement disassociating himself from it and condemning the act. None of that had happened. You see, this is what we have found ourselves. That's why I said some persons who are now in office as traditional ruler, they are the so-called problem of the traditionals too, not the politician, because they want to play to the gallery. Just because the government in power was an opponent of the Obaseki, so anything the Obaseki is bad. Like somebody said, your enemy is my enemy. So two of us are friends of one enemy. So if the Obaseki, they have issue with the sitting governor, so if the Oba does anything, the city government is staying aloof. But like rightly pointed out, the primary assignment of the city government is to secure the life and property of the entire state. Every single citizen of Edo State is under his protection, but he has not shown any seriously to show that he's protecting the life of Dr. Pedro Obaseki in this regard. Because if he knows that Obaseki is an Edolite and he needs his protection, we are calling upon him to, call out the police to carry out the proper investigation, and those who are culpable to be tried.
Tried by who? These are people they use for elections. If you try them, who would use tomorrow? A governor that had vowed that there will be no other party in the state. A governor that threatened somebody to be that not enter the state. You think he's going to use police to achieve that? The next one he's going to use. So he's going to try his tools just to establish to use for all these petty jobs. These are the people they use to coerce people to vote against their conscience. So I don't expect the governor to do anything, because these are well known to them. These are their people. These are people they identify themselves with.
Well, you see, because I have special respect and special love for the Benin tradition, I want to use the opportunity to appeal to the Oba of Benin that they shouldn't desecrate the Benin tradition. The tradition we grew up to love and respect. Even though I'm not from Edo State, that's my birthplace and where I grew up and had all my education. We know what the palace stand for in the life of Edo and the entire Nigeria. But we have never had this kind of story from the palace. This Oba shouldn't bring the palace into disrepute. It just because of his self-aggrandizement. The palace is beyond him. He will stay in that stool. He will be out of his stool. Another person will come in. So he should respect the Benin stool.
Now, let us not look at the fact that every governor that comes in try to outdo or outweigh or call out the past governor that has been there. This present governor of Edo State, Monday Okpebholo, His Excellency, has also not done well in creating factions or some sort of issues in Edo State. Let's look at Abia, for example. Abia, Oti came in place of Ibazu. Now, Oti has focused on what
governance,
doing governance. But Monday Okpebholo, His Excellency, has focused more on trying to talk about the opposition and also how there will not be opposition in the state. Oti has not said you cannot operate in Abia State as a political party. But that of Monday Okpebholo, His Excellency, is beyond that.
The answer is simple now. Why are you going so far? Let me tell you what happened. A lot of politicians vie for a political office without having a program to prosecute. If you have a program that is time-based, it won't be pushing shadows. Oti, before he wanted to be a governor, he had a program. He had something he needed to achieve. And it's time-bound. So he doesn't have time for that triviality. This governor has no program. Most of them, when they enter office, they try to create a program. Between that time of creating a program, you need to engage yourself. So he has engaged himself with the former governor. Chasing shadow, chasing things that are not necessary. It's not governance. So that is just major difference. Watch every governor that has a program. They don't bother about their past predecessor. If things need, they push it to AEFCC. Focus on what they're doing. If he's so confident about himself, why wouldn't you allow opposition to strive? You see, if opposition didn't allow to strive, would have been elected. So, because they are afraid of their shadow, they are not delivering, they're not performing.
Now, most of these issues of former governor and present governor having issues are things that sometimes the party leadership of this ruling party needs to wade in. People not taking laws into their hands like nobody. For example, if trouble is brewing in Rivers State as we speak, there was some sort of peace between Fubara and the past governor. The past governor doesn't have the CFO to the state. The past governor asked for votes from the people to be able to bring a good governance to the state. He's done his mandatory 8 years and has gone. But he keeps jumping up and down and undermining authority. How can we bring Nyesom Wike to authority?
You know, before I speak on Nyesom Wike, I'm still in Benin. Because when you talk about Okpebholo and the activities of sitting governor, always trying to play politics and fight their predecessor, I don't have problem with that. He has answered the question clearly because they had no blueprint for what they are there in there for. But my problem is the Oba of Benin, who is allowing himself to be dragged
by the small people.
Okay, so I will leave you now because you don't have answer to my question.
I don't want to answer your question because I'm concerned with
I'll move past that. River State, the Oba of Benin will deal